Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This one is going to be a little bit more informative about plant care, specifically carnivorous plants, and we're going to be talking about how to overwinter our North American carnivorous plants. Now, I keep a lot of these species of plants, and you can really find them pretty easily online. There's many places that you can go if you just Google whatever species you're looking for. Now, we're going to be talking about the Drosera, or the North American sundews, and you can find Drosera in other parts of the world, but we're going to specifically be talking about the temperate Drosera or the North American Drosera. Now, we're also going to be talking about the ever so popular Venus flytrap, as that only grows in North Carolina and the very northern east tip of South Carolina. And lastly, we're going to be talking about the Sarracenia, or the North American pitcher plants, otherwise known as the trumpet pitchers because of their characteristic trumpet shape, as you can see there on that Sarracenia rubra. So, I think that's enough said. Let's get into the video. Alright, so I have a few things laid out for this project, just a couple things that we're going to need to effectively put our plants through their winter dormancy. Number one is we're going to need some Ziploc or any plastic bags, and number two, we're going to need some sphagnum moss, and we just want plain sphagnum moss. We don't want any fertilizer or anything like that in it that will ultimately end up killing our plants. Now, the reason that fertilizer on carnivorous plants is frowned upon and bad is because over millions of years, these plants have evolved to live in a no nutrient environment. So giving them nutrients will actually kill them because they need to get their nutrients from the bugs that they capture during the growing season. Now, thirdly, we have a jug of distilled water. You can also use rainwater, but getting a jug like this at the store is pretty easy. Now, I do want to note that you don't want to use purified water or spring water. You can only use distilled water on your carnivorous plants. So now that we have our materials ready to go, let's get started. First things first, we're going to soak our sphagnum moss. Now, all we're gonna do is take our sphagnum moss out of its bag. We don't need the whole thing. This comes with a lot, so if you buy this one bag, then you should have enough for a very long time. Now, this stuff is highly absorbent, so just be aware of that. It's gonna soak up a lot of water. We're gonna take our distilled water, just gonna pour it over top, and it doesn't matter if you use too much, you just don't wanna use too little. We're just gonna pour it up to the top of this bowl, and we're just gonna squeeze out the air. This stuff acts like a sponge, and we're just gonna let that sit there while we prepare our plants. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of the species that I keep so y'all can see. But this overwintering method is basically gonna work for any North American carnivorous plant that you can find. So right here, we have 3 Sarracenia purpurea, or the purple pitcher plant, and they did amazing this year. You can even see this one has a new pitcher coming up on it still, even in December as we are right now. Then I have a few Venus flytraps. There's one right there Then I have a few in my main bog garden. You can see them labeled with the D muscipula for Dionaea muscipula. Then I have another big purpurea right here, small one in the back, a Sarracenia rubra in the front here, and a Sarracenia alata. I got this one this year from a guy named Mike Wang. Look him up. He sells great plants and has great customer service. Here we have a Sarracenia flava cuprea. Keep in mind, now that they've started their dormancy, they don't look good at all. But come springtime, they're gonna be putting out great looking pictures. Over here, we have a shabby looking Sarracenia flava rubricorpora, which puts out a real beautiful picture that actually looks similar to this in the spring and summertime. Then in the back here, we have a Sarracenia psittacina with its parrot-shaped pitcher, as this one is commonly known as the parrot pitcher plant. Then in the back, we have a Sarracenia rubra, another one. Then we have one of my favorites here, which is the Sarracenia leucophila. You can see it's got that white top on it. Here's a better looking picture. These ones catch a lot of wasps, actually, which is great. And then the sundews have already gone into their dormancy and put out their gemme, which is just a green little bunch of buds that will come out next year as the first leaves. And that's all a sundew looks like this time of year. And that's all I keep. So I'm going to show y'all how we put all of these plants in dormancy. I'll probably use 2 different ones as an example, and then you'll know how to do it with all of them. All right, so I'm just going to grab this Venus flytrap out of my water reservoir that I made for it out of the Coca-Cola container there, the crate. And as y'all can see, we got a lot of dead stuff here. We got some green still. It's actually a little bit frozen because of the temperature out here. A lot of black. So we're just gonna get rid of all the dead stuff that's growing on this. Leave the green, and then I'll show you what happens after that. So I'm just gonna take a pair of scissors here and gonna chop off anything that is dead and shriveled. You can use garden shears if you want, that'd probably be easier. Don't worry if you accidentally get some green. It's not gonna hurt nothing. You can also use your hands to pick out anything as long as you're not disrupting the roots. You don't have to be perfect here. These plants are meant to survive in crazy conditions, so as long as you don't do anything drastic to them, they should be all right. All right, so stuff under there. All right, that's looking pretty good. There's some perlite on there, that's okay. Just brush that off. Now we're gonna grab one of our Ziplocs here. Gonna open it up, and I'm just gonna set mine right here in this bag so that I can film this easier. We're gonna take out our plant out of its pot. Now, you can see it's already in a peat sphagnum mixture. That's really all you wanna be planting these in anyway. But I'm just gonna take some of this sphagnum that I soaked in my distilled water. I'm just gonna wrap it around the roots here. And that is just about ready. We're gonna put it in this bag. and then we're gonna seal it up. Get most of the air out there, and we're gonna sit it like this. Now, that really is the whole process. We just wanna take the plants out of their containers, get their roots covered in the sphagnum moss that's already moistened. Then we're gonna seal them up. And then the next step's really just gonna be to throw them into the refrigerator for the winter. Now don't worry, they can go in a drawer or anything like that. They don't need any light during this time because they are in their dormancy. So they're not gonna need any light because they're basically gone to sleep for the winter. Now, I'll grab my Sarracenia Sarracenia so y'all can see what we'll do with a pitcher plant. And it's the same thing. You just want to be careful of the roots, clean off anything that's dead, and then just set it for the winter. So I'll take the tag as well. That can go in the bag. I know what my species are for the most part, but I just want to take extra care to not forget what I have and stay organized so that I can be. So this might be a better example because the root ball isn't so frozen, but you can see some of the roots right here. They're not much for these carnivorous plants because the only purpose of their roots is to keep them anchored in the ground. They don't use them to take up nutrients because they're getting their nutrients from the bugs that they capture and digest. So really here, we don't have much to clean up. Just gonna chop off this little piece here. It's dried up pitcher, and maybe this guy. Try not to get that root. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. It's got a little vine on it that's like a bog plant that's grown in there with them, but I can just leave that. It's already got some sphagnum, but I'm gonna take some extra. And this is live sphagnum that's around it right now. That'll be just fine during the winter in the refrigerator. Just want to get some extra on there. We're gonna throw this in its bag. Might need to grab a larger bag actually for this guy. We'll see if we can fit it. Now it looks like it's just barely gonna fit. If I slide everything to the corner. Yep, there we go. So there we have it. Our Sarracenia bagged up. So here we have these two bags, and I'm just gonna take these and throw them in the refrigerator, and they're gonna stay there all winter. So you may be wondering, well, Frank, you showed me what to do when these plants need to go in dormancy, but you didn't tell me when they need to go in dormancy. Well, there's a very easy way to figure this out, and it really just depends on where you live. Now, if you're keeping your carnivorous plants outside, which if they're North American, that is the best bet for them. That's where they probably are already if they're thriving. You're going to wait up until the first frost of the year. And after that first frost is when you're gonna take them in, get them ready for dormancy like this, and then you're going to throw them in the refrigerator. And now your next question may be, well, when am I going to take them out of the refrigerator? How do I know that they haven't been in there too long? And how do I know when it's proper time to put them back outside? You're going to wait until the last frost of the year. So you can check your weather apps and the news and stuff like that and kind of gauge when the last frost is gonna be. You can wait a little bit after that if you need to, just so that you're extra sure. Sometimes in those northern states, it looks like it's gonna be real warm weather in spring, and then all of a sudden you get hit with another frost, and that can potentially damage your plants a little bit. They're meant to be outside during the cold, so they should be okay, but you kind of want to avoid that if they're the species that grow more south. So just remember, it doesn't really matter how cold these plants get. It just matters how fast they get cold. So that's why we want to take them into the fridge and keep them at that 50-40 degree temperature all winter, and gradually let them go down to that freeze before we put them in the fridge. That way they're already kick-started into dormancy. Then we take them out and they're going to be ready to go in the spring. So I'll make another video when it's time to replant these and get them ready for the springtime and they're ready to grow again. But for now, they're just gonna live in the fridge and they're gonna be good all year round. Now, you may be a little bit worried that they are gonna get some kind of fungus or growth, mold or something on them in these bags in the fridge. I use sphagnum moss and have never had a problem with just using dried sphagnum moss that I obviously have moistened with the distilled water. Sphagnum moss has antimicrobial properties in it that will keep most bad things from growing in here, and they'll be just fine in the fridge all winter. Now, if you're worried about it, you can add like a plant fungicide. Make sure that it's plant safe and just use a little bit. But they really should be okay with just the sphagnum moss as long as everything else is pretty sterile and ready to go. So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Alright guys, I got my carnivorous plants here that are ready to go in the fridge for their winter dormancy. And I'm going to be blooping up a video right here that shows me traveling to a wild carnivorous plant bog and observing some Sarracenia purpurea in the wild. Super cool. It's in western Maryland called Cranesville Swamp. And then below it I'm going to be putting up the Plethodon Party series where I go into the wild of the southern Appalachians and search around for salamanders. Please check them out. There's a lot more than just salamanders in there. So thank you all again for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.